Hi guys, welcome back to Guru Tech. So in this video, we are going to learn about the most common things you should know in Linux. So before going to the video, so please subscribe to my channel and share this if this is very helpful. And coming to the video, whether you are the beginner or preparing for the Linux administration, these basics are very important. So we will cover essential commands, file system structures, and user permissions basics and file system permissions all, and the package management also. like uh, these are uh, these are the commands everyone who is practicing Linux should compulsory know. And if your fundamentals are strong, then moving to the advanced topics like our server monitoring tools like using top share, that all will be easy. So let's begin and explore the common things you should know in Linux. So coming to the first, the basic one, you have a curiosity for what is Linux and why it is useful like that. And for that, mm, in most of the interviews, they will ask what is Linux, why you are that important to the student. Like. So coming to the first question is what is Linux? So that is we can say that Linux is a operating system, just like operating system, just like our Mac OS and Windows OS, and it is open source, like it is free to everyone. Linux is a free to everyone, and it is known it for it features like stability, security, and flexibility. Okay, so Linux is based upon Unix, so it comes from Unix, and Linux is open source. Okay, so next come for what are the features of Linux. So we can say the features like open source, secure, multi-user, supports multitasking, portable, and supports shell scripting. You should know all these basic things to say in the interview or any exam they ask. So features of the Linux are: it is open source, secure, supports multitasking, and it is portable, and it supports shell scripting. Shell scripting. So you have a doubt like what is Linux and what is Unix. Okay, so difference between Linux and Unix are: Unix is a proprietary and it is older. Like it is the first before the Linux has been introduced, the Unix is there. So from Unix, the Linux is came out of that. So Unix is a proprietary and older. So Linux is a open source and widely used across devices. So Unix is not used that much. Linux is used because it is open source and can be editable according to the systems. Okay, so we can say that difference from Unix and Linux is: Unix is a proprietary and Linux is a open source, came from Unix. So Unix is used in mostly in Mac OS. Unix is the only operating system used, and Linux, like we say now, Android and that all come from Linux. So after that, what is the Linux kernel? So what is the Linux kernel? So we can say Linux kernel is the core part of the OS. It is responsible for its managing the system resources and hardware resources like memories, system commands, all that come from Linux kernel only. So after this, Linux distribution. What is the Linux distribution? What is the Linux distribution? Yeah, it is a Linux distribution is a complete operating system package including the Linux kernel, utilities, and software. So this distribution contains complete package of the Linux, like its kernel utilities. So kernel is the core part of the OS. and utilities are the system utilities like services, all that, and softwares. So software means you all know that mm, like websites that all come from Linux only, the distribution. So we can say about popular Linux distributions. So popular distros, we can call it as distros also. So popular distros as you all know RHCL, SUSE, Ubuntu, Fedora, CentOS, Arch Linux, Debian. So these are some popular Linux distributions. Um, Other popular also like there. So these are the most common Linux distributions in used in our world. So this is up to the Linux introduction, like what is the Linux and what is this components and all. So after this, what is the explain the final system hierarchy. So file system hierarchy, not a final. So file system hierarchy. So file system hierarchy, we can simply say that it starts with the root containing directly like slash bin slash home slash boot slash srv slash sys slash var slash proc. These all are the directories containing the root. Okay, so file system hierarchy means it starts with root. So it starts with root, and in the root it contains slash srv slash home slash proc slash etc. This all directly containing in this root directory. So head of the directory is here. The head of the file system is slash root. In slash root, these are the directories it contains. So after this, what is shell? What is shell? Like a shell is a command line interface that lets user to interact with the OS. So it does so user to interact with OS. So in the shell, we can give commands and run them. So user can pass commands, and shell interacts with kernel, and kernel interacts with the OS. So our command executes. Okay. So name some commands used in shells means like we can say some commands in used means bash, zsh, ksh, fish, and tsh. These are the common commands used in our shell in Linux. Okay. So after this, who invented the original Unix and which version did it come popular? So first of all, the Linux Unix is developed by the Bell Labs. So Unix is developed by the Bell Labs, and the in these Bell Labs there are two persons called Ken Thompson and Denny Ritchie. So these two persons developed the Unix, and it came as a Unix version 7. So it came popular when the Unix version 7 is released. Okay. So on which year Linux is created means Linux is created in the 1991. Okay. It is Linux is developed by the Linus Torvalds. Okay. Then in coming to the what is the role of kernel? What is the role of kernel in Linux? Means kernel acts as a bridge between software and hardware, managing the hardware resources. Like if you press the volume down button, the speaker hardware of our operating system, like speakers will down the volume. If you up means it will increase the volume. Like that, kernel kernel role is like that one. So then next is what is shell in Linux? Give example means we all know shell is a command line interface that allows user to interact with the OS. Okay, so we can in so many interview questions they will ask that what is the difference between Linux and OS. See, Windows OS, Linux and Windows OS. So we can say that Linux is a open source and free. Okay, Linux is a open source and free. Linux offer high customization, whereas in Windows is a proprietary and it is paid. Windows has less customization. So we can by if you are using a Windows laptop, you can see that it is less customizable than the Linux operating system. Like that, we can say the differences between Linux OS and Windows OS. And what are the benefits of Linux means we can say the features also in this one. So like open source, security, free, stable, customizable, multitasking, networking support that are like that. So and we know that Mac OS is based on the Unix OS. So Mac OS runs on the Unix OS, not on the Linux. The Android mobiles. Our Android mobiles are on developed upon the Linux only. Okay, so and then if we come to the Linux server, so we can say what is the purpose of purpose is it stores personal data of a user, and his settings. Okay, personal data of a user and his settings. Okay, then what kind of the file stored in etc means system configuration file stores in etc, and in system bootable files where will store means it is in slash boot. System bootable files will be stored, and the device files is stored in slash dev. What is the command uname to show the host name and hardware info, like kernel name, kernel version, host name, and hardware info, we use command uname hyphen a. It displays all the kernel name, version, host name, and hardware info. So it is like that. So what is the difference between df and free? What is the difference between df and free? So df stores disk space usage. Okay, df disk space usage. This shows disk space usage. When it comes to free shows memory usage, like RAM shows memory usage. The memory is RAM. Okay, it shows the RAM usage. So in Linux, what does bash stand for means born again shell. Okay, bash stands for born again shell. So then what is the main purpose of the shell means we can say that to interact with the user and the OS, and name important components. So two important important components of the Linux are kernel and shell. I'm saying this because I have been asked these questions in an interview. In it's more than 5 interviews, these questions are asked commonly, and I'm saying to this one to know. And which is command the coming to the questions, which command they use for list of files on directories, we use the command ls. And we for knowing the our present working directory, we use pwd command. So this gives our present working directory name. And after this, which Linux distribution is specifically used for penetration testing? So for penetration testing, the Linux OS is used is Kali Linux. Kali Linux is used to testing. And which command used to OS version? For OS version, so next question is, to know our OS version, we use cat slash etc slash OS hyphen release. It shows the operating system version for our OS. It's in every Linux system. This command is common. And For knowing our current shell, we use echo dollar shell. It shows our current shell. And to see the shells available in our operating system, we use CHSH-L. This shows our all working shells in the Linux system, operating system. So different bit, if you ask different between dollar zero or dollar shell. So difference between them is it shows the dollar zero shows the current run shelling and like current running shelling. So current running shell, it shows and the dollar shell shows the default login shell. Okay, it shows the default login shell. Okay, so if you want to change the shell, what is the command you have used? It means chsh hyphen s and our shell name, which is like a bin bash, bin no login, the bash no login, like that. So the shell info is stored in, and this shell info is stored in /etc/passwd. So this shell info is stored in this file. And to print the first three lines of the file means we use we give cat file name and pipe symbol and head hyphen 3. It gives the first three lines of the file. So to list out the hidden files in our directory, we use command ls hyphen a. And to extract the first column of the csv file is cut hyphen d. Okay. So next we come to cat more less. So cat dumps entire content, whereas in more dumps page by page command. It shows like pages content, and less shows scrollable content. So if we scroll means the content will be visible. Okay. Another one, for removing we use rm hyphen rf for forceful remove. For normal remove we use rm. So to check the disk usage, we use the df or df hyphen ht command. So it shows the that disk usage. So to see who currently logged in our linux system means we use who. So it shows the who is logged. And from last we if you want to know the last boot time of the system, we use who hyphen b. It shows the last boot time of the system. So if you want to see the process info of our operating system, we use top command for seeing the real-time process info. And if we come to what is the purpose of touch command. So this touch command means this touch command used in creating empty files. Okay, empty files or multiple files. So it helps in creating empty files or multiple files. And coming to another one, cat command means we say display all content of the file. Then how do you append the content of the file using cat means like how do you enter the content. So cat double greater than our file name, we used to append the content. mm, Coming to the va command. So va command, I have given the pdf in our va video. So from that you can see that va what is the va command, what is the shortcuts in our va command. To make the file system, there are two types of file systems available in our linux, xfs and ext4. For making these file systems, we use mkfs dot xfs means xfs and our path. So for which path you are doing the file system, like that. So here also mkfs dot ext4 and our path we give here. So this makes the file system. Okay. So these are the common questions that has been asked in our interview, and these are the basic questions. Also, there are some complex topics like how do you stop the server and how do you initiate it? What does this service do? Like that all. So I will make another video on that. So the coming to this, these are the basic things that should be learned for a common Linux system administrator. These are the basic things also. So for this video, this is all the content. So from next video, we will continue the Linux series. So please subscribe and share to your friends who are in Linux system administration.